Hello and good evening. It's Tuesday night, Tuesday the 28th of November in the Sew with Trisha group. And tonight is the last Tuesday of the month, which means it's mini quilt, a brand new mini quilt for you, which you can see behind me. So let's have a look. I can see June is watching. Now, as we're in the group, no doubt I won't be able to see any comments until quite a while into the session. So if you'd like to make a comment, tell me you're here. Obviously the comments might start coming through a little bit quicker, but if they don't worry about it, because I shall just crack on with showing you how to make this. And I'm sure Lindsay will be looking. Oh, there's my Victoria watching as well. Now, she must be at swimming, so she's bored. The youngest one goes to swimming on a Tuesday evening, so that's what she's doing in that horrible atmosphere of a swimming pool. Anyhow, tonight is the mini quilt behind me, and it's called Jacob's Ladder. And for those of you that have been in the group already today, you will see the PDF is there with all the instructions. I thought, thank you, Lindsay, I thought you'd be commenting, and I haven't brought my phone up here because I think it's died anyway. You know the reason for that, don't you, Victoria? So, quite straightforward. Let me just tip that up there a little bit further that way. There we are. Now, I've done a little bit of preparation beforehand. There are only 2 blocks within this quilt, would you believe it? Where you make a 4 patch and some half square triangles, and it's how you put them together. The one you can see, and the instructions are made for, is just using 2 fabrics. So it's just a lighter fabric and a darker fabric, or 2 contrasting fabrics, so that you can see that whole layout there of those almost cornerstones going round in a square on point. Tonight though, I'm going to do it a little bit more scrappy. And for those of you that had last month's subscription box, being the Fat 8s, or bought any of the sets that I had with Fat 8s, either 8 or 10, you'll be able to make your quilt from this with, I would say, just one. I've used the coordinating fabrics, where I've got the light colour there. I've used 1 fabric. So, and the rest of it is all with scrappy pieces as well. So let's have a look what you will need. So as I say, I have done some already, and here we are. So I have made a few typical half square triangles. Let me just go down here and pick those up. They just like to fall off, don't they? Okay, so we have, there's oh, that's the same colour one, but I have chosen 8 different colours. I've got some more to do. So here we have just the half square triangles. I've got those made, but I'm going to show you how to make another couple of them. And I haven't put any together yet, but we will have lots of pieces like this, some 2 patch, which we're going to make into 4 patch blocks. And what I'm going to do is to make it scrappy, so we've got 4 patches that will be in 2 different colorways. Now I haven't made any up yet because I've left the 4th contrast color to show you how to make, how to get these to begin with. And then because I want it to be mixed around, I won't have enough. I'll have just 1 color left over, which I don't want that to happen. So let's pop these back to where they came from. And yes, there's lots of you watching now. So they're the ones we have already. Let me pop those just there and pop those ones there. So all the information you need will be in the PDF, and it's a full photographs and wording for you to be able to follow. Once you've watched me doing it, you'll think, oh yes, oh yes. And then when you read the instructions, it will all come back to you so that you know exactly what to do. And they're there to look back onto and refer to measurements, etc. So what we'll do first, we will start with we will start with making our 4 patches. So all we need is 2 strips of fabric. Now in the 2 different coloured fabrics, if you're making the one that's behind me with just 2 colours, you want 1 of each strip, and you will need a width of fabric twice, so 2 widths of fabric in each of them to get the appropriate amount. 1, 2, 1, 2, yeah, that's right, the appropriate amount of 4 patches. And I have made it into, so this here is actually, this is 1 block here. So that's your block with a leading ladder going in one direction. And what we're going to do is make 4 and pop them together, but we're going to rotate them by 90 degrees so that we get this square on point. Even though they're all squares, when we set them, as I say, with a 90-degree rotation, it gives us this on point square. So if you wanted to make another set of 4, you could make it into a table centre or a runner, or even another set of 4, and you can make it into a bed quilt if you wanted to. So you could put this, exactly this, right next to it, and then it will just follow on so that you have got zigzags of these ladders. So it's quite, well, it's a very useful block. And for those of you that are beginners in patchwork and quilting, you will find it fairly straightforward, I feel. And for those of you that have been doing patchwork a lot longer, it will be quite easy for you. So let's have a look. So first of all, I am going to set my machine. Well, actually, the first thing I'm going to do is to, let's see, I've got to turn my light down so that you can see a little bit better than this. Light, there we are, that's better. I do like a bit of light when I'm stitching alone, but when I'm doing this, it's easier for you to see if the light is turned down rather than getting a glare. Okay, so we have our 2 pieces of fabric, our 2 strips. Now, because I made it scrappy, I've just used half widths of fabric. So this is not a full width, it's just a half width, which means I can use more colours. So right sides together, it doesn't really matter which way you put them. And just align those edges, that long edge, and we're going to stitch down the long edge. So 1/4 inch seam allowance, and I'm using a 1.8 stitch length. So anything smaller than your standard 2.5 is very good for patchwork. It just makes it, let's go back, just makes it more, I don't know, it just makes the fabric look as though it was melded together and makes it a really strong patchwork which will not come undone. So let us fire away. So I'm going to stitch down this long edge. If you want to put a 1/4 inch foot, a patchwork foot on your machine, absolutely fine, and line up the edge of the foot with the edge of the fabric. Or like I'm doing, I just use my standard foot, and what I do then is I move the needle to 5.5. And 5.5 is the magic number for those of you that have never tried it before. And what it will do, it will give you a 1/4 inch seam allowance as long as you line up the right hand edge of the foot, putting my foot down there, the right hand edge of the foot with the edge of your fabric. Okay, so we have stitched our fabrics together now, our strips, and now we need to press them. So I'm just going to move this over. We'll pop the iron on because there is a way that I like for pressing my fabric. So let's go over here. And so the first thing I like to do is I set my seam. So my stitching is along this top edge. Let's pop that down there. And I'm going to set the seam by just pressing along that seam, and that sets the stitches so that we get a really good finish when we open it up. So now I'm going to push the dark, I've got the dark on the top, which means that when I press this back, the dark fabric or the whole seam will be together, so the seams are together and they will be under the darkest fabric. So then we just lift that up, and then I just go in with one hand. I'm pushing the fabric open, and I'm just doing a swirling motion along the seam, and that means that my seam is going to be perfectly opened up. And what we're looking for is a nice straight line, so it's perfectly straight. If you don't open those seams up fully, what will happen, let's just pull that, you can see, yeah, they're all opened up fully. You'll get a bit of a wavy line, and what you want it to be, you want it to be perfectly straight, just like that. So, having done that, these strips were 2 inches wide, so now we want to cut this into 2-inch pieces. So let's go back around here, and what we'll do, we'll get the cutting mat and we will start to cut. So, nice sharp rotary blade, new if you've got one, so that you get a really good cut. Let's just take that out there. So let's just pop that under there. So I have my my strip horizontally now, and out of a half strip we'll get 20. If you've got a whole width of fabric, you'll get, no you won't, you'll get 10, sorry. If you've got a whole width of fabric, you'll get 21. So the first thing I'm going to do, because I've got quite a wide selvage there, I am going to use it this way round, and I'm just going to line up my ruler with the selvage there. And what you can also do, the line, these horizontal lines on the ruler, if you line that up with your seam allowance, you know you're going to get a straight cut. So we just trim that away like so, and then pull that over, and then we're going to cut 2-inch widths. So whatever we cut, whatever our strips were to start with, we always cut the same width of strip, but with your strips going horizontally and we are cutting vertically. Now the best way to do this, you can see these horizontal lines. Line one of the horizontal lines with your seam in the middle, and then obviously the 2-inch line at the side here. But if you line that horizontal one with the centre, you know that then your 2 patch is perfectly, you can see me doing that, that's right, is perfectly formed. It's exactly 2 inches wide. So just push that up so that you've got the, there we are, so that you've got that horizontal in line with your seam. And as I say, you know then that these are perfect. So just pull that up, and I will need all these 10. So push that out of the way. The other way, which when I made the mini quilt itself, the sample there, I used a June Taylor shape cut, so that you can lay the shape cut across your strips and just cut at all the 2-inch lines. So much easier and quicker. But most of you will have a rotary cutter and patchwork ruler, so you will be doing it in this way. So there we go. So as I say, we should get 10 from a half width of fabric. So there's a 2. Right, that's gone a little bit wonky. So all I'm going to do is move that around. Because I'm lining my horizontal line with that seam, I can trim that so that that is perfectly formed and absolutely straight. So 2 inches wide, and we've got that little scrap at the end there. So there are our pieces. Let's pop those all together there. We can get rid of the mat for the moment, but what we're going to do is then take in our 2 patches, all the rest of our 2 patches here, which I have got in 4 different colours along with the background. So what we're going to do, and we'll just make a few to start with, I've got 4 different sets of colours. So I've got 1 there, 2, 3. Now you could do this with as many colours as you like, as opposed to just the 2. If it was just the 2 colours, like in the sample, you would just be putting 2 of these the opposite way around. So they all come off like this, but all we need to do is swivel it around to give us our 4 patch. Now, because we have pressed all the seams to the dark side, when we swivel so they will all come off like this, but when we turn it 180 degrees, put 2 of them together, our seams are going to nest because they're going in opposite directions now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a few together that have got different colour combinations. So first of all, we'll put those 2 together, and I would chain piece these. So right sides together, align that centre seam or align the raw edges, and in particular nest that seam in the middle. So one seam on the top is going to the left and the one on the bottom is going to the right. If you want to pin here, absolutely do. So, but I'm just going to push those together, and I'll put my finger down on the seam, and then I'm just going to pop that under the machine. Make sure I'm doing my 1/4 inch seam allowance again, and start stitching. So if you keep your finger on there and keep those seams aligned, we'll be fine. Now, chain piecing means that when you come to the end of one seam, you don't cut your thread. So let's now take another 2. So I've taken 2 different colours. I'm going to make sure they spin around like so, and then I'm going to put them right sides together again, align that edge, and then also where that those seams meet in the centre, they nest together. So as I say, if you want to put, let's just have a look, see if I've got a pin to hand. How can I not have a pin to hand? Oh, here's one. So if you want a pin, I would pop one just there to hold that seam in place, and then I'd pop it under the machine, and we would just carry on stitching. So just put my foot down again and carry on down. Just before I get to the seam intersection, I'm going to take the pin out and then just make sure that that aligns perfectly for the rest of the raw edge there. So there's 1, 2. Now we actually need, in each block, we need 5. So let's see, let's put another 2. We'll put another colour combination. Again, make sure your dark one's on opposite corners, and again, right sides together. So what we're going to do is just make up 5 here. And so I just, whoops, that nearly wasn't in line. Make sure it starts off at exactly the 1/4 inch. And then, as I say, when it comes down, just move that over so it aligns up perfectly. So that one's 3. So let's put 4, 5, or number 4 is here. Swivel them around, and you'll know if your seams don't nest, you'll know that you haven't got them the right way round. It's very easily done, but if your seams are correct, that will also match perfectly as well. So just put the next one under and carry on stitching. Stitch into that seam, and then just check that those raw edges are aligned there as well. So there is number 4. And then let's have a look. We'll put one of these and one of these. I know we've got one already, but the more scraps you have, the more scrappy your Jacob's ladder will look. So again, I've just nested those 2 together. That lines up perfectly, which is what we want. And just make that, it's the nesting of the seams at the centre which is most important. If there's a little bit of excess or a little shortage on one side, don't worry, because we can always make that right as we pop them together. So let's just pop those out of the way, and then what we're going to do now is just snip these apart. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're going to press these open. So had I brought my best press upstairs, I would have used best press on these. And so let's just take these over to the ironing board again. I would have put best press on them and just used my dry iron. So there we go. So the iron is working. You can set the seam if you want to. I tend to lay, whoops, there we are. I tend to lay my block so the seam is on the left so that I can open it up and press outwards. So if we just press that seam there, and I've actually got, and then use the side of the iron to just open that out. And that way, that is what we want. See how precise that is in the middle there? And that's because we nested our seams. So again, we'll do the same with this one. Set the seam and then open it out, side of the iron, and again we get that lovely centre that is matching perfectly. So if you get all your 4 patches done and then do all the pressing together, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, side of the iron, so that all of those pieces are they're all being pressed at the same time, rather than pushing into one edge a little bit more than the other. Okay, so they look pretty good to me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've got our 5 blocks there, which form part of the overall block. And so then what we're going to do now, we'll go back to the machine, so you can save all your pressing till later, or now, as the case may be. So the next step is our half square triangles. So I have my pieces of fabric. Now these are slightly oversized so that we can trim them down, so that we have a perfect half square triangle once we've completed it. So what I've got 2 different pieces of fabric here, and I'm placing them right sides together. Now again, I would chain piece these. I'm only doing 2, but you could do the whole lot with chain piecing. So the first thing I'm going to do, if you have some seam guide tape on your machine, I haven't on this one, you can use that. So it doesn't mean you don't have to draw your lines. But if you haven't got seam guide tape, then all we need to do is line a ruler up across from one corner to the other, and I do it on the reverse of the lighter fabric. So there is my line drawn. I haven't done it the darkest, but there is a line drawn across there. And then the same with this one. So from one corner diagonally opposite to the other corner, and we can just draw a line, like, I'll do this one a bit darker so that you can see a little bit better. So there is my line drawn from one diagonal to the other. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to stitch a 1/4 inch seam to each side. So this side first of all, and then the other side. So if we're chain piecing, all I'm going to do is I'm going to pop my foot down on here. I've got my patchwork foot, or as I've used here, my standard foot with the edge of the foot at the line. And then I'm just going to stitch down here. So again, it's a 1/4 inch to the side of that drawn line, and all the way down. Make sure it doesn't veer off at the bottom. When you get to the bottom, don't cut your thread, but get the next one under your needle. Now it won't fit exactly, so if you go slowly, you are stitching into thin air, which is not wonderful, but for just that small distance, it actually doesn't, as long as you go slowly, you'll be fine. If you go fast, it's likely to break the thread. So I've done my 2. I would carry on and do the other 6, so you've got 8, because each of these pairs is going to give you 2 half square triangles. So once I've stitched one side, I'm then going to go back down the other side. Whoops. So we'll stitch down here again. I'm using the right hand side of the foot, lining up with that drawn line, and then I'm going to, because it's joined already, I'm just allowing the next one to carry on underneath. Now you can see the fabric's moved a little bit here. This doesn't matter, purely because we are going to trim it to size. And it's only a minimal amount, but it really does make life really, really easy when you trim them back and you get a perfect sized half square triangle. So there are my blocks. Now either with a rotary cutter or scissors, I'm going to cut on the drawn line. So you'll cut there. You see it's not perfect, but it doesn't matter even if you're not quite on that drawn line. You don't want to cut very close to the stitching, but a little distance away is fine. Or even a little bit different, you know, if it wobbles a little bit, that doesn't matter either. So if you do have a half square triangle ruler, which is one of these, what you want for this one, you want the 1/2 inch one. So you want the 3.5 inch line is what we're going to be working with. And by using, if you're using this, they are on the website, and there is a discount for you as members if you haven't got them already. Can't think what the code is, but have a look in the group, and that gives you, I think, a £5 discount on the rulers. I know some of you have bought them of late, and you do love them, which I'm not surprised. So if you are going to use a half square triangle ruler, don't press these open. Leave them as they are at present. If you haven't got these, yes, press them open in the same way as we did with the strips. Have the dark fabric on the top and press it back so that the fabric is under the dark side. So if you have got these, I'm just going to show you one more time how to use your half square triangle rulers. So let's have a look, which is easier. Let's do it on the light side. So what I do, I'm just going to put the foot on the ruler. That's it, the foot on the mat, holding that nicely in place. So what we need to, you see on these rulers, there's dashed lines and there's solid lines. It's the dashed lines that we want to line up with our stitching. This is why the actual seam allowance doesn't matter, because we're working our triangle around the stitched seam. So you probably won't be able to see very well, but I am lining up the 3.5. Let's do it that way. The 3.5 inch line there with my stitching, and you'll see that there's just a little bit of excess on both sides. So I'm just pressing down in the middle, and I'm going to cut that side. Oh, that's not very good, is it? Let's just, I'm going to move this away a minute. That's it. So I'm going to cut to the one side. I'm actually standing up so that I get, there we are. And so that I can cut down here, and I'm still cutting away from me. And then there's some little slots that you can pop the rotary cutter in. Just moving my mat around, and whoops, here we go. I'm at a peculiar angle actually, but which means I've trimmed those off, trimmed those excess, and there I have what will be my perfect 3.5 inch square triangle. So let's put another one in here, if I don't throw it on the floor. So there is, actually not a very good position there. That's it, that's better. Right, so as you can see, there's a little bit of the darker fabric showing there, but because we're trimming it, it doesn't matter at all. So just make sure there's a little bit of fabric on each side. I've got the dashed line on the stitching, and then I'm going to cut there and then down that side. I always cut from the inside of the slit to the outside, get my fingers totally out of the way, and there I've got another one there. So there is my, I've trimmed off my dog ears, and that one's all ready. So I've only got 4 of these, because once you do one, it is quite straightforward, and you just get used to it. So the 3.5-inch line, the stitching, and then just move that across. I've got the tiniest bit of fabric on each of the diagonal edges and across there, and I'm just holding that down in the middle. The other alternative, which I haven't done, but you could use the grip tape and pop a little bit on the bottom of the underside of your ruler, and that really helps to keep it firmly in place if you have trouble with slipping. So again, I'm lining up my stitch line with the dash line. Just press down in the middle, fingers right in the middle so they're not in the way. There you are. See, I moved it then as well. Okay, so just press that down, press across, down that side, off with the dog ears on both sides, and that's all done. So just pull that away, and let's just get that bit off there, and our dog ears. So we've got our 4 triangles, half square triangles ready now, and let's just move that out of the way, and I'll just show you how to press these, because there is a good way of pressing your half square triangles too, to make sure you get a really good press. And that is, again, have your dark fabrics on the top. I've got the stitching down that side so I can flick it over easily. So again, we will just press to set the seam, and then I'm going to flick that open. I'm using the side of my iron this time, so just press the side. I'm pulling it open on one side, and then just press the iron. So you're not moving it backwards and forwards, you're just pressing it to the side, and there I've got my perfect half square triangle. So we've got 4 of these. Set the seam, open up at the side, pull it open, and then just take your iron over there, and we have another one. And these will all be identical inside. It really is just a lot easier than when you use the formula of 3 inches plus 7/8, 3 7/8, and hopefully you get the exact size every time. And unfortunately it doesn't always work. And the thing is, with having perfect sized ones all identical, it means your patchwork goes together so much more easily. So there are our half square triangles. So let's just go back down to the machine again, because now that we have got more than enough, we can start putting them together in our block formation. So what are we going to do first of all? We have our pile of half square triangles. Now, as I say, these ones, I've got lots of different colours. So I think I am going to use I'm going to use 4 different ones. 1, 2, have we, we haven't stitched our, oh yes we have. We have stitched our 4 patches together. So 1, 2, may as well use a red, 3, and a blue. Let's do that. So if you were doing the 2 colour one, these would all be identical. So there's no choosing, but you could have a different one, everything, you know, lots of scrap fabrics. If you have fringes, I couldn't find mine, I've got a few left. If you have some fringes, they are ideal, because this is exactly the size of a frinchie, a 4-inch square. So there are, okay, so there are our, let's go down here. We want 4 of these, but we want 5 of the 4 patch squares blocks. So we are going to let's put our 4 patches down first. So the 4 patches, they are always going to go, so the block is like that, and we always want our leading line of dark going in the same direction, so they're all pointing to the left. So I'm going to have 1 just there. Let's move that round. I'm going to have 1 there. I am going to have 1 in the middle. Now let's have a different colour there. That's it, 1 in the middle. I'm going to have 1 down here. So let's have that just there. And I might have that one just there. No, I'm going to have that one just there. No, because these are all going in the same direction. They're all pointing. Now we don't want that one there because that's, yeah. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you see there are 5. So these are the outside edges and the middle. Then we are going to put our half square triangles, and the half square triangle, the darker colour, is always facing towards this centre line. So I'm going to put a red one there. I'm going to put a blue one there. So can you see how they're both of them are facing into that centre? And then on the other side we'll do exactly the same. So that one is facing in and that one is facing in. So if I just flick, can you see how that's working? Let me just flick you up to there. So you can see, where are they here? Here's our block. No, let's go to this block here. So here is our half square triangle. This dark triangle is facing in, this one's facing in, this one's facing in, and that is. And then we've got our light, our background colour, if you like, the one that is the same throughout, is going through the centre. And that's exactly what you'll have down here. Okay, so you can see the creamy fabric is going right through the centre here. Okay, so there. And then your other cream ones are also going in the same direction. So you've got your dark ones going for me to the left and the lighter ones going to the right. So in my normal way, and this is one of the occasions when actually it does matter that if you accidentally moved one of these in the wrong orientation, so say this one here, if we accidentally put it like that, we're going to have a completely different look. Now we could do, if you wanted it to be like that, you could do, there's no problem at all, but it's not going to work to the same one that I've done there. Or let's turn these back to how they were. But if I moved one, my half square triangle got rotated like that, we've lost that ladder effect because we've got this big area of creamy in here rather than the dark. So because of that, I wanted to eliminate the risk of actually moving it around accidentally so it's not in the right place. So this is what I do. The norm, I would say, is to sew a row together and then sew another row together and another row, then you do one to the other. But I'm going to stitch them all together. And for those of you that have been in the group for a reasonable while or since January this year, you will know how I tend to make these with whatever I'm doing, because it just, you may, if it goes in the wrong place, you'll have to unpick, whereas this stops the risk of doing that. So what I do, I am going to have my middle column here, and I'm going to flip them onto the left hand column, and I'm going to flip this one onto there, and I'm going to flip that one onto there. Now at home you'll be able to have these all in the right place, and you can just pick them up one at a time. So for a minute I'm just going to put these over here, make sure I keep them in the right orientation, otherwise I shall be in trouble. So then I'm going to take this one, the top one, move it to my machine, line those edges up. Now you've got no matching seams here, so this is quite nice and easy. We haven't got to match up anything, but we're doing again our 1/4 inch seam allowance. Oh, where's my foot pedal? It's moved. So, whoops, there we go. Come on. It's because I've got a cord sitting on there. Okay, make sure that seam, the raw edges are aligned. When we get to the bottom, again, we're not going to cut the threads, but we're going to take the next one and just align those edges there. And you can see how perfectly even that is. And that's because we did the trimming and also with our accurate 1/4 inch seams and our pressing. But it means that our 4 patch and our half square triangles are exactly the right size. which is just what we want. So there is our second one. Haven't cut the thread, but I'm taking the next one in there and we'll just line this edge up again, and no matching of seams again, just those raw edges at the side. So let's stitch down here. Okay, right to the bottom. And now, because that's the end of our 9 patch, our 3 lots of 3, there we have our blocks, and all we do now is open them out. So at this stage we can see if we've accidentally put them in the wrong place, if we've turned them round. So you can see that is working. These triangles are coming into the centre. So we're not going to press at the minute, but now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take, I've got my other ones here, which I just moved over. So this one, and this one, and this one. So we can still see that these dark ones are leading through the middle. So now I'm going to put this one onto the centre one here. And what I will do, I will put a pin in there, purely because I won't line it up, but because I'm moving them. As I say, at home you can just pick one up at a time because you know exactly what you're doing. And then this one is going to flip onto the centre one, and we'll pop a pin in there. Oh, a dressmaking pin, will I never. And this one here is going onto here. And you can see then how easily we are going to have them all together, and they will be just right. So if I didn't pin, they'd fall off when I come to stitch. So I'm going to take this one first of all and just make sure align that edge and that raw edge, and that fits exactly how I want it to be. And just make sure, that's it, that raw edge there, just make sure that lines up, and continue with our 1/4 inch seam. And again, we are not going to cut that thread, but we'll just take hold of the next pair and just line that up beautifully at the top and down there. That's it. If we pop that under and just start stitching, and then we can hold this bit together, and that all lines up perfectly as well. Straight down here, don't veer in at the end. And then the very last one, so I haven't cut the thread again, just line that up at the top, and that lines up at the bottom. Whoops, so don't move it so that it's not a 1/4 inch. We do want it to be a 1/4 inch. So all the way down. And now, because we finished that, we can cut the threads. So again, just open these up, and you can take a look, and you can see that it's exactly how I want it to be. Now, what we need to do now is to press our seams, because the next thing we're going to do is we're going to bring the top one down, and then I'll bring the bottom one up. So we want these seams here to nest. So the easiest way, and it is in the instructions, so I'm going to switch my iron on again, and let's take this over to the ironing board, which is just there, and let's just see that in. Oops. So I'm going to turn it upside down, but we know we don't have any unpicking to do because we can see that it's all in the right place. So what we're going to do, you can almost see where these seams want to go. These ones in the middle are curling inwards, and the ones at the bottom are going outwards, and this one's going outwards. So what we're going to do, let's just pull that up there a bit. The top and the bottom I'm going to press outwards, and the middle ones are going to go inwards. The other thing you'll notice, where these are the half square triangles here, and it basically opens them up so we can see where the intersection is. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this in here, and I'm just going to push, this is the bottom one, I'm going to push that seam out, and this side here, I'm just pulling from the other side, and we'll just steam that down. So you can see there, that seams, those seams are going outwards. So just for ease, I'm going to flip this around because it's easier to press the way I'm doing rather than go over the top and you can't see. So again, I'm pressing this one outwards, so I just go in with the seam. As I say, you can see here the triangle is opened up. You can see just here where my intersection is, and that's going to help us get a perfect join when we put these sections together, these rows. Okay, so we have those going outwards. So to make them nest, we need these going inwards in the centre. And again, it opens out, there we are, that's opening out our half square triangle. So again, there's our half square triangle opened out. We're not making a bulky seam. And then, let's just see if we can get this one back nicely. There we are, get that one back. So there we are. So the centre row, they're pressed inwards, and the top and the bottom, they're pressed outwards. So we can now flip that back over, and it's looking better already with that little bit of steam there. So we'll go back to the machine. So let's just take that in a little bit, and we'll go back down to our needle bed there, and we have our block like so, and not that you can see it yet, but there is our block. And so the first thing we're going to do, we're going to do the top. So here's our top row. We're folding it down onto the row below, and the main things here, so it's all held together by little strands, but we're going to nest these seams, and you can see already one is going one way and one is going the other. So again, pin if you would like to, and I in actual fact will. Let's just see here, so let's just pin that there, and then this should be, that should match up at the other side as well. So we've got a intersection there. I'll leave this one for a minute, but can you see, I'm going very close up there, where the pin is just next to there, that is where my that's where my stitching needs to go, either absolutely on that or just to the right of it, just in the seam allowance, and that's going to mean I keep my lovely points on my half square triangles. So if we go down to, so let's just line that up, so line that edge up, and then if we start stitching there, and then make sure the raw edges are aligned there, and let's just bring that in here. So I'm making sure that's aligned, and I can just pull that down a little bit and carry on stitching like so. And then just before I get to my pin, I'm watching where, you won't be able to see it on there, but I'm watching where that intersection was and stitch through it. We'll have a look when I've stitched it together. But at the same time now, I am looking at this nesting seam here. So I'm just going to pull that into place, and we haven't actually got, let's just see there, we haven't got a triangle there to match, but with our 1/4 inches being perfect, it is going to, now that matches up perfectly there, but that is going to give us our seam allowance as well for when we join the other blocks together. Okay, so let's have a peek here, because what we want, oh, I'm happy with that. Can you see how that rusty one there makes that point beautifully? And those two together there, just what we wanted. And that's by nesting the seams and watching for that little point. Okay, so we're back in position, and we need to do the bottom one. So in exactly the same way, we'll flip that up, and then let's turn it that way. And then the first thing I'm going to do is match or nest that seam just there. So we'll put a pin in this one, just to hold that beautifully in place, like so. But do you know what? I'm going to do it from this side, because I want to see, can you see that intersection there? I want to see that when I'm doing my stitching. So I'm going to nest this one here because that nest there, and push that together, just trying to feel that, because you can feel it with your fingers. One seam going one way, that's good there. So that should, and we can test this actually. So if you want to see, so I don't know, the other seam looks slightly, so if you want to pop a pin in that point and then look on the other side, and the other side there's a point as well, and that is going to give me a great, so it should come, because there's a half square triangle the other side, but that works beautifully. So again, just align that at the edge, pop it under the machine like so, start stitching, and if you're putting a pin here, hold it up vertically, because then, and I'm going to take that out because I don't want to scratch the needle bed, but I'm just holding that, allowing it to sit, and I'm pressing my finger down, watching for that intersection. Okay, and then, oh, I put a pin in there, but I won't. I'm just going to feel that. Okay, and then line up those raw edges and carry on across. But these are all little tips just for getting those perfect points. Now, I will admit it doesn't happen always for me. I did unpick a couple of these sample ones because they just weren't what I wanted them to be. Other times it just goes swimmingly and absolutely perfect. That one, oh yes. Oh yes, I'm happy with those. So let's just have a look. We'll give this one more press and we'll see. So here it is here. Onto the ironing board. There we go. So back to the other side, and you can press these. I feel that these new seams want to go outwards. So we can give that a press that way, and I just pull at one edge and just make sure I don't press the other seams upwards. You'll get some of the seams doubling over, and some are just perfectly all right. So I just flip that around and give that a press. We will press it from the top as well, but what we don't want to do is, there we are, let's flip that back over and just give that a good press from the top. There we go, and a good press over there. Just make sure all those seams are beautifully opened up. And this we want to be a 9.5 inch square. So I'm quite chuffed with that. We have got all of our dark stones going in the same direction, and we've got our ladder formed with those cream ones going up. Oh, I said, oh, good. Thank you, Pat. I'm glad you are. Well, yeah, you can rewatch. Absolutely. But there it is. And now you can see, as I say, I'm not always perfect, but just look at where these squares in the middle, so in our 4 patch, they've come out perfectly. Oh, thank you, Sue and Janet. That's lovely. But it works. Oh, there's Lindsay. Hi, Lindsay. Yeah, this was the last little bit of the Maple Hill. I thought, let's use it, you know. But, yeah, you know, I thought when I'd done it, I thought, thank you, Alison. I thought, I'm going to do a scrappy one. Now, what would look, I just hadn't got enough time or fabrics, but it would also look lovely in having lots of different creamy or lighter fabrics as well, so that your half square triangles could be completely scrappy with a light and a dark. And I thought, Michelle, you can do it. I promise you. I promise you, you can. But what I will do, because obviously I've only got time to do the one, when I get a chance and I make the other 3 blocks so that we get the complete 4, I know you would love them, Lindsay. So as you can see, there are 4 blocks there. So let's just put this where that would be. So that would be there. Can you see that? So when I've got the other 3 done, what I'll do, I'll come and do a quick little live. Gosh, it will have to be, yeah, it'll have to be at some point. So I might do a video and then put the video in the group for November. Or no, it'll be there forever, just to show you how you just join them all together. But that, oops, that is, yeah, that is it made on a scrappy basis. Oh, I think we're a bit in close, aren't we? Are we in too close? Oops, nope, it's just me. There we go. Oh, I'm sitting a different place. Oh, you've got them in it. That's lovely, Pat. They are great and easy to use. And thank you, Anne. So, yeah, so this is the Jacob's Ladder. It is a very versatile block. And if you wanted to, you could actually set them all going in exactly the same direction. Or you could make them zigzag. There's lots of things that you could do with it. Scrappy looks good. The colours in the background makes it. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? But as I say, I think it would also look really nice if all these creamy ones were just a lighter colour and a good variety. Let me just, where can I put that down here? Yes, you could see that down there, couldn't you? If I get a pin. Yes, there's a pin there. Yeah. But it's always good to have a lot of different, have a bit of a change, have different colourways. Just so that you can see the difference just by the colours that you put together. It is a fun block. Ah, and you enjoyed. Pat asked if you've got any minute. Yes, there are. Oh, sorry, you asked me if you'd got one. I thought you'd got them. Yes, I have got mini quilt rulers. They are on the website, and I say there is a code which has left my mind. Have a look in the group though, because there is a code for £5 off, Pat. So I think it might be ruler 500 perhaps. Have a think. I usually do it so that it's roughly similar to what it means. It would make and it looks really crump, but you've shown how straightforward. Yes, Nikki, exactly that. It does look complicated, but it isn't, and it's good practice. And I'm sure you've got the half square triangle rulers. Good practice for using those. But you see how it did come together easily, and it was right first time. Oh, it's in featured. Right, lovely. Have a look in featured then, Pat, and that's where it will be. The first lap quilt you made was a Jacob's Ladder. It is so effective. And as I say, you can you know, do it with one colour or switch them around if you wanted, like I did. If you wanted to switch this one around so the darks were here and then the same here, it would just give a different look round about here when it all comes together. It's like everything, break it down. Absolutely. And the other thing, it all comes down to squares. Everything is, at the end, is working around squares. This is a 9-patch block. 1, 2, 3. 3 rows making a 9-patch block. And it really, yes, let's see. Yeah, actually, now, for those of you doing the block of the month, if you like this, this boils down to a 9.5-inch block, exactly the same size that it would fit with your block of the months. I don't know why I did that, but it just happened. Oh, thank you, Bet. It's Easy HT. It's not ruler. Easy HST. Thank you, Beverly. That's very kind of you. So, Pat, if you're listening, the code is Easy HST, half square triangle, which are the rulers, 500. I thought there might be a 500 being the £5. I'm just, oh, that's better. I knew I was a bit too large in that, Anyhow, I hope you've enjoyed that. You have got the PDF that's in the files for you to download. Oh, it is, you're right. That's the Easy HSTs, the mini quilt rulers. There might be one for that as well. Yes, that is the Easy half square triangle rulers. Never mind, Beverly. I was with you on that one. Never mind. Thank you, Catherine. So yes, so that is it for the evening. Now, Thursday I shall be back. Not a problem, Beverly. I was totally with you there. So, you know, we're perhaps in a different world at the minute. But yeah, I agreed. I was probably thinking of that. So it might be, I don't know. It's in featured, Pat. Have a look. Yes, I shall be back on Thursday. It is the monthly giveaway, the fabric giveaway. So I shall do that. And so yes, what I might do, is I might do the finishing off of this just before, because it won't take very long at all. Just before we do the giveaway. So I've got lots of lovely fabrics together. You'll all be in the draw, and the new ladies. Now, there was a lovely lady joined only this morning, and her name is, I think it's another Patricia, and I can't think now. You're looking forward to starting your advent. Jolly good. Some of you might want that code for them. We're in the group. We're in the group, Patricia, so someone might want that code for them. Oh, they might. They might want the code for the Easy Heart. Absolutely, Patricia. Yes. Gosh. I don't know what is happening to me tonight. Great name. Yes, a great name, Patricia. I can't think what the surname was now, but welcome if you're here. I did send you a message to say that it was on tonight, but you'll be able to watch it afterwards anyway. So, it will come to you. You too, Karen. Lovely. Oh, I'm glad you're watching as well, Karen. Right. Friday, as Lindsay's already put in the group, I'm going to do a festive hexagon topper. A hexagonal. I did one some years ago, but right, okay. Haven't shown you that for a little while. Also lovely and easy. And if you want to run one up for Christmas presents, whether it be a Christmassy one or, thank you, Jan, or, you know, an everyday one, because I think I did it as an everyday as well. So, as Lindsay said, going back to codes, if you're looking featured, which is at the top, you should find them. Oh, you're looking forward to this one. Oh, good. Good, Vanessa. Yes, we spoke about that, didn't we? Yes. So we shall do that. Okay. I will love you and leave you. Thank you, Beverly. See you on Thursday and Friday. Yeah, enjoy the rest of your evening and tomorrow. And I will see you on Thursday. So take care of yourselves. Bye for now.